So one of Nisargadatta's quotes is that we are confused because we think we are in the world rather than that the world is in us. So anytime something happens that I think I didn't want to happen, the moment I have that thought, I think that should not have happened, should not be happening, I'm being a little Lisa who's supposedly in the world, looking out, trying to evaluate what I imagine to be separate from me, which is not the ultimate reality. The ultimate reality is this alive, one flow that is everything, really everything. So there's this beingness, this huge, vast aliveness, and all the occurrences, the appearances of little Lisa, the appearances of war, the appearances of chaos of any sort, they are happening within this infinite thing that I am. So, how can I move from that experience of thinking, oh, that happened to me, to realizing, no, I am the infinite, and that is just happening within me. So it can have, I use this for any kind of thing. It can be a big thing like war, or it can be a small thing. But I just use inquiry and I just transition back to that infinite perspective. So here's just a simple way where I transitioned myself back, or transitioned to this clearer scene. I got a charge on my credit card that I didn't recognize. And then I looked, and it actually had been there for over a year. Every month is some kind of subscription thing. And it felt like it was happening to me, right? All this money, here I am paying it out. This wasn't something I used. This wasn't something I wanted. And, I did the process of challenging it and blah, blah, blah. Anyways, it stayed. So this charge that, it looked like happened to me, right? There was some intention, I thought, of the local Lisa that didn't think it should have this charge. That yes, that charge apparently is staying. And so apparently this is happening in the world in me. There's no out there doing it to me. So, okay, really simply, Byron Katie's inquiry transitions me back out from being the receiver to being the creator, the doer. So I think, okay, if I have, what's the thought, the painful thought? Just really, really condense what's the most concise way to phrase this aggravation. And I should not have that charge. They should not be charging me. Okay, and how do I feel when I have that thought? Well, obviously very small. I feel like a victim. And how would I be without that thought? Well, there's a charge. Apparently, I'm paying this. There's money that's going to go out. And there'd actually just be curiosity. Huh. So do I know 100% that this shouldn't be happening? No, I never know. As the little apparent Lisa, I never know. So, okay, well, what's the turnaround? Why would it be that I would create this for myself? What would be the movement that would be interested in having this experience? Well, one thing, there's like this commonality, right? With all humanity, it seems like everyone ends up with some charge they didn't want, whether it's a ticket or a damage to their home or damage to their car, or a child who does something that, whatever, unexpected. There's unexpected charges as part of life. That's part of the wildness of being here. And all of a sudden, it's like, oh, of course. Yes. This isn't some little isolated being who somehow is immune to this wild human experience. We all get this kind of experience, apparently. And yes, there's this infinite creative energy. How could it ever experience something like surprise without making this kind of perceived little person who's at effect, who's receiving the apparent ups and turns and downs of the rest of reality? So, okay, there's like this adventuresomeness. And what I've noticed is this that I am is way more adventurous than I ever could have guessed. If I want to own this creatorship, if I want to own this infinite flow, if I want to recognize myself, the infinite being that I am, that we are, that is everything, as the truth, as reality, then any little aspect of adventuresome is a path to it. Opening up into that level of adventuresomeness. Yes, of course. There's this interest in getting charges I wouldn't have expected. There's an interest in being on both sides of a war. There's an interest in experiencing death and pain. And there's an interest in transitioning from from verdant area to desert. Yes, there's an interest in being a giant tree in forest and getting chopped down. There's an adventuresomeness in this that I am. I am the world. All these things are happening in me. Why is that? Because this unlimitedness is so curious about experiencing limitation and being in the unpredictable. And as I recognize that, it's like the constricted idea of Lisa is just hollow, flimsy, meaningless, insignificant, not real, very illusory and dreamlike. But instead, the reality is this vast, absolute, unshakable adventuresomeness. Wow, this is what we are. This that is the gigantic tree being chopped down. This that is losing my leg in some medical error. Yes, this that I am is that adventuresome. And the knowing, the recognition, it's what we are all the time. We're never less than that. But the knowing and the recognition comes right back in.